Sitting throwing rocks across the pavement, hoping it'll cave in and swallow me whole. Wondering why my mind keeps on spinning. This isn't how living to me was sold. Why am I like this? Something's always amiss. Can't put my finger on it, but it's there. Wait for it to subside, but my mind won't apply. Waiting for the clear. Is it bad sometimes? I like it when I lose control. There's something in it that's so beautiful. Listen, I can see the light but I can also see the bones decay. I don't know what else there is to say. I'm doing my best not to run away. Sitting throwing rocks across the pavement, hoping it'll cave in and swallow me whole. Wondering how the world keeps on spinning, kinda scared of living when it unfolds. Hard to see the light when everything is dying, waiting for the clear. Thankful I'm alive, but terrified of dying. But hey, I'm still here. Is it bad sometimes? I like it when I lose control.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good Friday afternoon, February 10th, 2023. You guys, many of you guys have probably seen my video here this morning, and if you guys have not yet seen the video, we're going to go through this spring forecast here in this video for you guys. I did want to do this afternoon to kind of break down the forecast a little bit more personally with you guys with an open discussion. You guys can ask questions in the live chat. We'll have fun with this afternoon. Again, if you guys have any questions about the spring or weather in general, that now is your time to ask your questions. So if you have any questions about that, and periodically throughout the live stream, I will be answering your questions as I go through the slides here. So let's go through right now the start of our spring forecast and what we can expect going through March, April, and May of 2023. Can you guys all hear me good in the live chat? Give me a thumbs up in the live chat, or number 1 if you guys can hear me clearly. Thank you guys so much. Again, this afternoon, we're going to be going over climate pattern trends. Are we transitioning out of La Nina? And actually, let me enhance my mouse real quick for you guys. Just one moment here. I forgot to do that. I forgot to do that. My bad. So you guys can see on the screen a little better with a bigger mouse. All right, now we're good to go now. All right, so, okay, you guys can hear me? All right, thanks. Okay, so climate pattern trends. Are we trending out of La Nina? We'll go over that here. March, April, and May, what to expect for the temperature and precipitation trends. And then we'll get into the whole climatology and forecast of severe weather expected this spring. Will we have any snowstorms and that potential? And then the late frost and freeze as well. I know a lot of people have been asking about planting going into the spring months. We'll be going over the frost and freeze climatology forecast and all the whole 9 yards here in this live stream. So if you guys have not yet subscribed to the YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button down below. We're up to 21,252 subscribers as of now. So we're getting closer to 25,000. If you guys want to help out, definitely hit the subscribe button down below and the notification bell. That's that bell icon down below the live stream. You get all of my daily weather forecast updates here on this channel, including these live streams, long range, monthly, and seasonal weather outlooks. And then also hit the like button. It's the thumbs up button down below the live stream as well. It helps to get all this information out to more and more people, guys. I definitely appreciate everybody doing both, hitting the subscribe button and like button. Let's get to 25,000 as soon as we possibly can. My goal was the end of this month, so let's see if we can hit that goal toward the end of February and into March 1st. So now let's get into the meat and potatoes of the spring forecast. So now looking first at the climate pattern trends, we have been in a weak to moderate La Nina status dating all the way back into November and even back to Halloween as well, farther back than this chart even shows. And you can see we're still hovering around that -1 on the chart here. And all these negative values under 0 are actually La Nina. If you get up to 0, that's an ENSO neutral. That's kind of a hybrid of both El Nino and La Nina. And then, of course, the positive values, that would be an El Nino phase for the climate pattern. So right now, we're still stuck at about -0.914, so we're still very close to that moderate La Nina status as of this afternoon, and it is complements of the cooler temperature anomalies across the equatorial Pacific Ocean here just to the west of South America and south of the Hawaiian Islands. And you can see up here just to the north of Hawaii, especially into the north central Pacific Ocean toward Alaska and the Aleutian Islands up here, we have the orange and red shaded anomalies as well. That's the warmer sea surface temperatures across these areas, and that's where we see some of the warmer temperatures in the Pacific Ocean. But over the past 7 days, we've started to see changes, and this has gone on longer than 7 days, mind you, as well. But it does look to continue to strengthen with some of these warmer sea surface temperatures here with the upwellings from the ocean. We're definitely going to start to see more of the trade winds slowing down out here. And when that happens, we're going to see more of a neutral phase. And then eventually, all signs do point towards an El Nino as we go in towards the summer of 2023. So now let's look at the consolidation of all of the climate models that we have in our disposal. You can see as of right now, we are still in that weak to moderate La Nina as I was showing you as of today. But as we go through the next couple of months into March, April, and especially as we get into May of 2023, we're going to start to trend closer and closer to the 0 mark here. And that's when I mentioned we are at an ENSO neutral at that point. And that's a hybrid of both the El Nino and La Nina conditions. And then we also do have that moving up farther into the positive territory towards positive 0.5 or +1, which would actually mean a weak to potentially even a moderate El Nino going in towards the middle summer months of June, July, and August as we go in towards summer of 2023. Of course, a lot of time between now and then. This could change a little bit. But looking diagnostically at the different models here, we are expected to trend at least into an ENSO neutral phase as we go into late spring. I'm talking about late March, getting in especially through April and May, and then possibly transitioning into at least a weak El Nino phase as we go in towards, late May, getting into June, July, and August, toward the heart of the summer months of 2023. So let's kind of break this down a little bit further month by month. So this is the climatology of the mean surface temperature of what you usually see for any given March, any time of the year. This could date back all the way to the 1900s. This could be in the 2000s. This is just the climatology of how warm Marches usually are on average. You can see across the southern and southeastern United States, It is usually much warmer here down across these areas, places like Texas, Louisiana, down here through the Gulf Coast states, the Carolinas at times, and especially, of course, Florida. And it extends farther westbound here towards California and portions of Arizona, especially near the Phoenix region. That's where we're expected to see the warmer temperatures in March. Of course, the colder temperatures do have a little bit more of a grip on the northern United States and the Northeast. During the month of March, we're still kind of in that winter phase, at least through the first few weeks of March, before the official spring equinox does arrive as we get towards March 20th and 21st of 2023. Now looking here at the monthly mean precipitation, climatology for precipitation through the month of March. It does look predominantly more wet and very active across the north central California region here along the west coast, especially the western coastlines here of Oregon and Washington state. And I do expect this, even though you don't see it up here, to extend even farther north toward British Columbia here, the coastline of British Columbia, with the heavy rain and the heavy snow there as well. And across the eastern two-thirds of the country through the month of March, especially centered on the central Gulf Coast states and the southeast, we do see predominantly wetter conditions and more active storm tracks going through the month of March, climatologically speaking. But if you guys do have any questions, comments, concerns, do drop them in the live chat. You guys, this is an open discussion. I'll be going through your questions periodically through this live stream. So don't be afraid to ask any questions as I'm going through this and mentioning different things about the spring forecast here. Jonathan Miller says, so does El Nino for the south in the winter mean more snow even though the north is warmer? So let me read that again here. So does El Nino for the south in the winter mean more snow even though the north is warmer? Yes. Well, it doesn't mean more snow necessarily. You can be warmer than average in even the northern United States and you can still see snowfall. So for example, if your average temperature in January or even February at this point is the low 30s, you can still see snow in the middle 30s. It doesn't have to be, necessarily warm across those areas, if that's what you're asking. Hello, Rain Maves. And then the second question is there a better chance of a polar vortex collapse in La Nina or El Nino? That's a good question. La Nina is more favorable for the polar vortexes to actually be stronger, or at least weaker, I guess you could call it, because they move farther south. The weaker the polar vortex is, the farther south they move. And then, of course, the stronger it is, the farther north the cold stays and locked in place across the Arctic. So, yes, the polar vortex is more active during La Nina years, but even El Nino, it is pretty active sometimes as well. It just might not go as far south. Paul says, question, Kansas City area for next Thursday snow, will it arrive morning or afternoon? Yeah, that's a good question. There is a snowstorm that is on the horizon, I think, during the middle and late portion of next week. I'll focus on that in my video tomorrow, but I do think there's a significant snow coming for near the Kansas City area. I'll be focusing on that tomorrow's video at 9 a.m. So tune into that. So as we go further here, let's look at this March for 2023. And again, if you guys have any more questions, feel free to ask them down below, comments, concerns, any of that. Again, hit the like button on the way in or the way out, guys. Definitely appreciate it. A lot more people get this live stream if you guys do so. Definitely appreciate it. But looking at the temperature anomaly here going through the month of March of 2023, you can see that the southeastern and southern United States does look predominantly warmer through the month of March. It looks a lot colder with the cooler anomalies up here across western Canadian provinces and the Pacific Northwest, and that sometimes might bleed down across portions of the Pacific Southwest into Southern California, and at least northern Arizona here, and the higher elevations of the Rocky Mountains through the month of March. Now we turn over to the precipitation anomaly expected through the month of March on this model. This is the CAN-SIPS model. It usually does a pretty good job of forecasting these longer range, a few months ahead of time type of weather patterns. And you do see across the Pacific Northwest some greener anomalies showing up. This does include parts of British Columbia and southwestern Saskatchewan as well. This also includes Washington State, Oregon, and northern Idaho, and the western portions of Montana. We're seeing a lot more anomalies showing up in the green. It does look pretty active. The polar jet is still there through the month of March, but farther south underneath that, yes, we will have troughs at times, but it looks predominantly more active north of California. So it looks drier across California here and portions of Arizona going into March. And then a more active storm track looks to set up here across parts of the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, and then extending back towards the southern plains and the Tennessee Valley here through March. And again, underneath that, across the Carolinas, the immediate Gulf Coast here from Georgia all the way to coastal Texas, and then Florida, of course, will be much drier going through the month of March. So I did put this together. It did take me quite a bit of time to do this here to get all of the weather data. I looked at multiple different climate models and long-range forecast models here to put these maps together. So going through the month of March, this is what I expect to happen for the temperature forecast. I expect it to be well below normal with the temperatures up here into the Pacific Northwest, and some of that just general below normal air will spread across the upper Midwest, parts of the Rocky Mountains here, and even as far south potentially as the Baja of California, especially if we can see some of these troughs dig down farther south into the Pacific Southwestern regions, and also some near normal conditions right in between there across parts of New Mexico, the southern central plains, and that could extend up into the central Great Lakes. But across the eastern 2/3 of the country and the southeast here, the Gulf Coast, these areas from Maine to Florida back to Texas, we're going to see above normal temperatures, I do think, for the majority of March. Now, it might start off cooler at times, especially across the north here into the New England region, but I think predominantly across the south and the southeast, we're going to continue to see that southeast ridge remain intact going through the month of March. So again, a lot more of this will be warmer than normal. Not to say that we're not going to get any snow up here. Just because you see above normal temperatures in March does not mean we're going to see no snow. It just means above normal from what you likely see in March. But of course, as you go farther along into March, April, the averages for the temperatures warm up, so it will be harder to get snow as we each day and each week goes by. So that is something to consider there. But looking now at my March 2023 precipitation forecast, I do think, again, like I said before, the above normal anomalies will be up here across the Pacific Northwest. That could extend northward into parts of British Columbia and at least southern southwestern Saskatchewan as well. Pretty normal with the precipitation across the Dakotas, Minnesota, back down into the Rocky Mountains. I don't expect too much of an anomaly there. Pretty normal for what you expect through March. Below normal down here across the southern California region, getting over toward Phoenix, Flagstaff, these areas here into Arizona, getting over toward Albuquerque, western portions of Texas, towards the Fort Stockton area, some of these areas, Lubbock, Midland, those are the areas I expect to probably be below normal. And then above normal anomalies up here with the main storm track through the month of March across the Great Lakes, interior New England, so we're talking upstate New York, western PA, getting down here toward the Tennessee Valley into middle western Tennessee, down here toward the Cumberland Plateau, and then we're going to see that transition farther south toward the Red River here into North Texas and southern Oklahoma as we go through the month of March. And of course, that extends up toward the Chicagoland area, Detroit, Indianapolis, just some of the bigger cities in here, Syracuse, Pittsburgh, getting down there towards Tulsa, Nashville, just some of the bigger cities in the above normal precipitation here through the month of March. Now we look to April. So we look to April now. So we're starting to warm the climatological temperatures up. We're starting to warm the temperatures up from south to north through the month of April. And you see, again, we start to warm it up a little bit more across the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, and parts of the Mid-Atlantic. Much warmer across the southern plains, the Gulf Coast, and the southeast here. And some of that warmer air climatologically is across portions of southern Arizona and the southern portions of California near the Death Valley region, extending over there towards Phoenix. That usually happens here every single year. Just one moment, guys. I'll be getting to your comments here in just a second. So I'm not ignoring you guys, I promise. If you guys have any questions, though, do drop them down in the live chat. Looking at the monthly mean precipitation, climatologically speaking, we're seeing some of the more active precipitation lift northward out of California and up here across western Oregon, western Washington. And again, you can't see it here, but I do expect that to be the case across at least southwestern British Columbia And that may extend up into southwestern portions there of Saskatchewan and Canada as well for some of the above normal precipitation for the climatological mean here for April. It does look pretty active. Usually, a lot of our Aprils are pretty active across portions of the Ohio Valley, the Gulf Coast states, and across really the eastern 2/3 of the country. And this April looks to be interesting. So, setting up through the temperature anomaly in April of 2023, it does look warmer. We're going to dampen the ridge farther south. So the southeast ridge that we have across the southeast will start to retreat farther south and kind of back its way westward towards Texas and the Four Corners region, according to the CAN-SIPS model here, which is one of the climate models. And we also do see the cooler anomalies taking hold across the western central Canadian provinces here, and that extends farther south with the areas here into the Dakotas, the upper Midwest, and potentially as far south as the Central Plains, the Ohio Valley, with near normal temperatures for portions of Maine down through the Mid-Atlantic during the month of April. Now we look at the precipitation anomaly through April here of 2023 with this model. It does look kind of back and forth. We have a bit of a wild card here. I do think we could see some anomalies showing up with the greens from the Mid-Atlantic back towards the Missouri Valley and the Ohio Valley, with higher precipitation chances here, but I do think predominantly we're going to be very dry across the Gulf Coast into Texas, especially East Texas, getting into portions of Florida and the Carolinas, with that active subtropical jet probably a little bit farther to the north now. As we have high pressure working in across the Gulf Coast, it's going to force that jet stream a little farther north. And again, it could be either or. It could be wetter out west, or it could be more drier out west, according to this model, as we go through the month of April. So now looking at my April 2023 temperature forecast, I do think it will be below normal across much of the northern and especially the northwestern United States, and that even extends farther north into southern, southwestern Canada as well, into the provinces here of Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, and British Columbia. Do expect probably below normal temperatures through the month of April up here. Near normal in between across the Central Plains, extending over here toward the Illinois Valley, the Ohio Valley, much of the East Coast here, especially from the Northeast to the Mid-Atlantic, and parts of the Southeast, especially the Carolinas into Florida. Above normal temperatures can be favored farther south, and then backing its way westward. I think it's going to be a little farther south than what we see in March. So places like Texas, back over here to the central Gulf Coast states, parts of the Central Plains at times could see some above normal temperatures, but I do expect it to be above normal back here into New Mexico, Arizona, and then back toward Death Valley here in Southern California. Looking at the precipitation forecast for April, I do expect it to be near normal across the Pacific Northwest. As I showed you with the climate model that I just showed you a few minutes ago, it does look wetter across the western coastline of Oregon and Washington State, and then probably on up into coastline there of British Columbia. But I do think largely it will be near normal up here. But much of the desert Southwest, the southern United States, we're still going to be hanging on to kind of a trend of La Nina. It's not going to be a true La Nina. We're going back to neutral conditions, I think, at this point. But I do think we're going to see much more below normal precipitation across California, Nevada, and then stretching back across the Four Corners region, getting through Texas here, getting through the central Gulf Coast states into parts of the Southeast as we go through the month of April. So let's see here how many questions we got down below. Again, guys, thanks for asking the questions. Thanks for pressing the like button down below. Again, if you guys are here with me today, subscribe to the channel if you're new to get more of these live streams, long-range weather forecasts, daily weather forecast updates, videos every morning at 9 a.m. And again, press the like button. It helps spread out all this information to more people here on YouTube. So I definitely appreciate that, guys. Good Friday afternoon to each and every one of you. Max says, we only had one tornado warning last year in June. Very quiet, severe weather season. Hopefully we'll get more action this year. Yeah, it does. I'll be going into the severe weather climatology in my forecast here shortly in this live stream. So stick around for that. I'll be going into that and what I think going forward. Northwest Indiana, you were talking about. Okay, so yeah, okay. Gotcha there. You had zero. Rain Mave said he has zero tornado warnings last year in June. So, hello, Weather Watcher USA and Canada. Thanks for joining. Thanks for being thanks for helping out in the live chat. Monitoring that and everything. Definitely appreciate it. The last 2 years, it's been time for a change. Yeah, we're changing the climate pattern this year. I'm very confident in that. I'm nearly certain in that. In fact, I think we're going to go back to neutral and then back to an El Nino, I think, in summer of 2023. Bear with me, guys. If you guys hear me sniffling in the background or coughing or something like that, I do have a little bit of a cold or a scratchy throat and a sore throat and stuff like that, a headache and body aches. I'm just doing this live stream today to get more of this information out to you guys. So bear with me. I'm feeling a little bit down today, but I'm kind of doing this live stream for you guys. So Matt Mitten says the video was just hanging up. All good now. Okay, yeah, gotcha. Yeah, sometimes it's not on my end. I think it's just YouTube is sometimes it gets caught on there sometimes. So extended warm season for Texas. Yes, it does look warmer in Texas, especially, yeah, the southern United States. How much below normal? For what? For the temperatures or the precipitation, John? Great Lakes needs cold, Sam says. Yeah. We got some cold coming, I think, late February and early March for the Great Lakes. We'll see how cold it does get, though. I'm ready for spring, but not below normal. Okay. Below normal what? Precipitation or temperatures? You got to be more clear. Hey, Hunter Burke, thanks for joining. Definitely appreciate it. I think you're new here. I don't know if you've joined before. I filmed a tornado on January 25th of 23, not in the southeast or the deep south. Chad says, more thunderstorms, please. Awesome, 90% chance of neutral. Yeah, it's a guarantee. We're going back to neutral as we speak. Temperatures in Minnesota. Okay. Oh, for temperatures in Minnesota, yeah, below normal here through at least the early and middle portion of spring. Let's see how it plays out. Hello, Dog Plays. Thanks for joining. Definitely much appreciated. So again, if you guys have more questions, comments, concerns, drop them down in the live chat. I'll be going through them periodically. I'll try to get to everybody's questions, comments, concerns. So do bear with me. Again, I am feeling a little bit down today with the cold and stuff that I got going on. I got a sore throat, a scratchy throat, body aches a little bit here, and, a little bit of a cough and sniffles every once in a while. So bear with me. But going through May now. So let's go through May, the last month here of climatological spring. We are starting to warm up here through May, again, across the south and then spreading up to the north here, climatologically speaking. But May is pretty active across the eastern two-thirds of the country, most times across the southern central plains and then down here towards the Arklatex, the Dixie Alley region. That's usually where we see our most severe weather usually in May, and also the heaviest rain in May as well down across these areas. Looking at this May, so temperature anomaly of May of 2023 looks like this. We have above normal temperatures, again, across the Gulf Coast, including Florida, back through Texas here, especially centered on central Texas. I do think we warm up in a big way, at least on this model, going through the month of May. Farther north, southern Canadian provinces like Saskatchewan, Alberta, Manitoba, parts of western Ontario, and then extending down across the upper Midwest and the Ohio Valley here, eastward toward the Mid-Atlantic. I do think that we are going to see a slightly, at least below normal, temperatures through the month of May. So we'll continue to watch that. Looking at the precipitation anomaly, it does look very active. We got a belt of strong jet stream, I think, a belt of southwesterlies and westerlies in the jet stream through May, which could promote some heavier rain and some thunderstorms up here across the Ohio Valley, really centered on the Ohio Valley through the Mid-Atlantic and then back towards portions of Missouri here. A little area of maybe a wild card of precipitation above or below normal up here into Montana, Idaho, and the Pacific Northwest, but largely looks pretty interesting here, near normal across the Southwest with precipitation anomalies on this model. Now here's my May forecast for temperatures of 2023. I think it'll be pretty normal up here for the large majority of the Great Lakes region, the Mid-Atlantic, and the Northeast. I think near normal May temperatures can be expected. Back to the west, though, across the Pacific Northwest and portions of the Dakotas, especially North Dakota and northwestern Minnesota, and that'll extend farther north into southern, southwestern Canada. Temperatures will be much more below normal during this period. We'll see well above normal temperatures down here across the central southern plains, and that could extend eastward here into the southeast as well. But a lot of above normal temperatures are favored across much of the middle and southern portions of the country going through the May timeframe. Looking at the precipitation going through May here, well above normal precipitation is favored, I do think, from Iowa getting through portions of the Chicagoland area, and that could extend eastward through the Ohio Valley, the Mid-Atlantic, and parts of the I-95 corridor with the well above normal precipitation up here with the active belt of the jet stream. I do think we're going to see lots of heavy rain, possibly more severe weather episodes through the month of May. Could be very active up here across the Ohio Valley, and really much of the northern and northeastern United States will be above normal. Near normal precipitation up into southwestern Canada and extending down here into the Pacific Northwest. Below normal precipitation again across the Pacific Southwest here from Albuquerque back towards the Phoenix, Flagstaff area, getting toward Las Vegas, San Diego, San Francisco, Los Angeles. All these areas will likely be below normal going through May. And then to the southeast, including Florida here, Jacksonville, down to Miami, Key West, and then getting up here towards, say, Shreveport, East Texas, getting into Jackson, Mississippi, Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, Atlanta. A lot of these areas will be below normal going through the month of May. So let's look quickly here at the severe weather climatology complements of the Storm Prediction Center. This is their climatology research and stuff like that. Severe weather climatology through the month of March is a little bit farther south. So we've seen a lot of severe weather events across these areas, across the central Gulf Coast states and the southern plains, really dating back through December, January, and even February. And it looks like through the month of March is centered on the southern plains and the Dixie Alley region down here across the central Gulf Coast states going through the month of March. Sure, we could have some severe weather extending farther north toward the Chicagoland area or Indianapolis or parts of the Ohio Valley at times through March, but it looks like the highest frequency of severe weather through the month of March climatologically is across the southern plains, the Dixie Alley region, and farther east toward the southeast through the month of March. That picks up in a big way as we go into April. We do see the southern plains start to heat up a little more with the active severe weather. That lifts farther north and east as well. We start to see more frequent events of severe weather up here across the Ohio Valley and the Tennessee Valley through the month of April. And then by the time we get into May, yeah, it starts to pick up big time across the central southern plains climatologically and also across the lower Midwest and the Ohio Valley as well and parts of the southeast. A lot more widespread coverage of severe weather events during the month of May, climatologically speaking, for severe weather. That includes all modes of severe weather. We're talking about tornadoes, large hail, damaging winds, convective windstorms, stuff like that, otherwise known as derechos or bow echoes, squall lines, stuff like that. We could be expecting that to increase as we go through the month of May. So here's my March, April, and May 2023 severe weather forecast through all of the areas here of the spring. I do think with the frequency of the severe weather, it's 2 times higher back here across much of the northern, central, and southern plains. And then farther east, I think it'll be 4 times higher this year, this spring, for severe weather. I think it's going to be also a later severe weather season, especially up here across the Midwest and the Ohio Valley. You're going to be waiting later and later this year to get severe weather. So I think late April and then May is going to be a big month up here across the upper Midwest, parts of the lower Midwest, and then over toward the Ohio Valley for severe weather. Those areas will probably have to wait longer for severe weather with the lingering effects of the cooler temperatures up here through March and April at times, and maybe even into early May. But I do think that with frequent cold fronts dropping down from the west and northwest, we'll have a lot more frequency of severe weather here. But farther to the south, it's going to really be all year long across March, April, and May. And we've already seen it now. It's going to be very active down here across parts of the central Gulf Coast states. And I actually did consider putting that at a 6 times higher down here across portions of the Dixie Alley region from Tennessee southward into northern Alabama, northern Mississippi, and eastern Arkansas. I did consider that with some of the data that I was seeing. So we'll see. We'll be updating this as we get a little bit closer towards the actual spring equinox. But yeah, it looks pretty active across the center of the country, especially in the areas outlined in the red here, the 4 times higher frequency for severe weather going through the March, April, and May timeframe here of 2023. Again, guys, just joining, Definitely press the like button down below. Definitely much appreciated. Let's try to get to 100 likes, guys. Let's see if we can do it here this afternoon. I definitely would appreciate that, guys. Thank you so much for pressing that like button, helping spreading all this information out to more and more people, guys. Thank you so much. How bad will severe weather season be for my area? Well, I'm not exactly sure where you're at, Rain Mave, so you're going to have to be a little more specific. Sorry about that. Dog Play says it depends where you live. Yeah, exactly. I don't know exactly where you are at. If you're in the Ohio Valley, the upper Midwest, the lower Midwest, the Southeast, you're probably going to see a lot more frequent severe weather events in the 4 times higher outlined area here. Oh, that is not good. What does 2 times higher, 2 times mean? 2 times mean right up here, guys. It says severe weather frequency, 2 times higher than climatology, 4 times higher than climatology, 6 times higher than climatology. You don't see the 6 times higher. Like I said, I was considering that, but it's according to climatology, it's 2 to 4 times higher than climatology for severe weather events across these areas. It's the frequency of the severe weather is higher than climatology in the areas outlined here. So hopefully that makes more sense. Chad says, I hope we get the strongest El Nino ever recorded, and thank the Lord, never La Nina again. Well, there's always going to be a La Nina, but yes, we're overdue for an El Nino, that is for sure, and that looks to extend farther to into 2023, and perhaps even, maybe even into 2024 as well, but it's very, very far out for that. So, but yes, we are trending back to neutral conditions, ENSO neutral, and then back to an El Nino probably this upcoming summer of 2023. Jonathan Miller says, how bad will it be for Lubbock? For what? For the severe weather? Severe weather in Lubbock, you are in the 2 times higher category here. So if you're in the Texas Panhandle, Northwest Texas, North Central Texas, East Central Texas, or the Southern Plains for the most part here, you're in the 2 times higher than climatology for the frequency of severe weather this spring for March, April, and May. And again, if you guys are just joining, this is the frequency of severe weather in May, or in March, April, and May, going through the spring months. And I think it'll be a little bit start farther south, but I will have to wait longer for the severe weather to really move in up here across portions of like the Twin Cities region, Wisconsin, Iowa, northern Illinois, and across the Ohio Valley. We're going to have to wait a little bit longer to see that. I think it'll be more late April and May before we really get going into more frequent severe weather events. But once it gets going up here, it'll be pretty active as well, especially getting into the month of May. So May, all around, May is going to be a big month for severe weather. So we could have several tornado outbreaks. It's just hard to say, but yeah, there could be, the pattern is setting up to be very interesting. And another thing to take note of with severe weather events trending out of La Nina is the years that we have trended out of La Nina. I don't have a graphic to show you this right now, but all the years that we trended out of La Nina, especially after a 2 or even a 3-year La Nina like we're having this year, it usually, once we get back to neutral conditions in the springtime, it usually brings a lot more active severe weather than what you would see with an El Nino with that transitioning phase. So that is something we'll have to consider as well going through the months of April and May especially, but even March as well. Does El Nino mean less severe weather? So El Nino does not mean less severe weather in the United States. It just means less severe weather regional wise. So, for example, in La Nina years, severe weather is probably more frequent up here across the Ohio Valley and the Southeast. But for an El Nino year, the southern plains and the central plains might be a little more active in El Nino years, while the Ohio Valley and the Southeast might be a little more shut off with the severe weather. So that's kind of what that means. It's not going to completely get rid of the severe weather. There's always going to be severe weather in the United States, no matter if you have an El Nino, ENSO neutral conditions, or a La Nina, and no matter how strong or weak they are, there's always going to be tornado outbreaks and stuff like that. But the severity of them and the regional basis of them will change during those patterns. So It's all of how the jet stream aligns to set these patterns up. The farther south the jet stream is, the less severe weather events we'll see because the cooler air moves farther south more frequently. The farther north the jet stream goes, we have some of the warmer air, and if we have cold fronts moving through from the west or northwest, tapping into the warmer air, you have the open Gulf of Mexico moisture here in the Atlantic Ocean as well open up for moisture. Dew points will be rising, and yeah, you have the perfect setup for some dangerous severe weather sometimes. So that will be something to watch. But once the severe weather gets going this spring, it will be pretty dangerous, I think, across portions of the red shaded color here, especially. But even anybody in the orange do want to be aware of severe weather March, April, and May. And again, for everybody outlined here, no matter if you're in the orange or red, I think the severe weather is going to be the most intense through the late April and in through the entirety of the month of May. So March, it might start off a little bit quieter. We might have some active weather down across the south, but it'll really pick up through April, especially late April. And May is going to be a big month, I think, this year for severe weather and even tornado outbreaks. So that will be something to watch. We could have more frequent tornado outbreaks farther north into the Ohio Valley and the Midwest with this type of setup this spring. So now let's look at the snowstorm forecast and where the snow could line up. So before we even talk about severe weather, we got to get out of the winter, guys, right? And a lot of people are saying, well, we haven't really had winter. Well, I did mention there's a snowstorm possible next week, and there is. I'll be outlining that in my video tomorrow at 9 a.m., but the March 2023 snowstorm forecast, I do think it'll be possible for a snowstorm to occur as far south as the Red River here into the panhandle of Texas and southern Oklahoma here as far north and east as southeastern Canada. So we're talking Ontario, Quebec, Montreal, back towards Toronto here in Canada, and then across the northeast, including parts of the I-95 corridor. It can be very, very close. I know you've had a lot of rain events this year. It does look like it's still possible we could have a snowstorm through March, much more likely, however, from the Kansas City region up through parts of Green Bay, Prairie du Chien, Wisconsin, Chicago, Detroit, Kalamazoo, these areas, Toronto and Montreal, and then upstate New York. A much more likely scenario for snowstorms through the month of March as I see it right now. And again, this is possible, Kentucky, West Virginia, down here into northern Arkansas and Oklahoma, maybe down close to the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. We still could be seeing some snow events through the month of March, but it's going to be much harder to do that, especially with the sun angle getting a little bit higher in the sky as we go through March, and especially into late March. And then, of course, just the track of the systems with the jet stream will be a little bit farther to the north as we go through the month of March. Now, going through April with the snowstorm forecast here, the snowstorm confidence through April is possible, at least across the Northeast. We still could be hanging on to a late winter here, and that does include the I-95 corridor. And again, I know a lot of people up here have been saying, we haven't had much snow, and I know that because New York City has barely had any snow this year. Boston hasn't had much snow. All the snow has been lake effect snowfall up here into western New York, northwestern Pennsylvania, or portions of Ohio here close to Lake Erie and stuff like that. And portions of northern Maine has had their fair share of snow, northern Vermont, northern New Hampshire. I know that, guys, but it does look possible. We still have some snowstorm potential through the month of April through much of the Northeast, and that could extend farther south and west towards northern Virginia, Maryland, down here toward the Baltimore region, Pittsburgh, Charleston, West Virginia, right on that line there, and then getting back here towards eastern Ohio. And I do think the lake effect snow still could be there, at least a marginal lake effect threat for snow across Lake Erie, especially going through early April and then kind of tapering off as we go through the month of April up across those areas. And then, of course, as we go into May of 2023, with the warming temperatures, we're not really expecting any areas of snowstorm potential through the United States. That could probably be lifting farther north into Canada here out of the view of the United States by the time we get in towards May of 2023. So let's see here what we have with the chat down below. Again, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, do drop them down in the live chat. Let's see here. Again, if you guys are on the live stream, might as well press the like button. I know each and every one of you guys, all 63 people watching right now, have not pressed the thumbs up button. Definitely do so, guys. Help me get up to 100 likes or more, please, guys. It helps to get all this information out to more and more people, and I definitely appreciate it. again, good Friday afternoon to each and every one of you. I know Super Bowl Sunday is coming up, guys, so getting ready for the Super Bowl, and the Chiefs and the Eagles playing, squaring off there in Glendale, Arizona. So that will be a very interesting game for sure. I'm looking forward to that. But here's my late frost and freeze forecast. So this is where you can expect. Where's my gardeners at? My planters out there, the farmers. This is what they, base some of their planting on, and it does look like a late frost and freeze is much more possible, really across much of the eastern 2/3 of the country, and that extends across the northern and central plains, farther east toward the east coast. Parts of the Northeast still could see this. Again, I wasn't very confident in a possible scenario for this across parts of the Northeast, but that could extend as far south as North Florida. Yes, North Florida with a possible frost or freeze going late in the year, March, April, or May here. So that will be something to continue to watch. But a much more likely zone for a frost or freeze through April, and especially getting into early and middle portion of May across the Dakotas, especially South Dakota, through the Central Plains, parts of the Southern Plains here through Missouri, the St. Louis area, and then stretching its way eastbound towards Kentucky, downstate Illinois, Indiana, there toward Evansville, Carbondale, Paducah, some of these areas in play, and then getting down toward Nashville here, the Cumberland Plateau, getting into the Western Carolinas, Western Virginia, West Virginia, just some of the areas in the likely category for a late frost or freeze, I think, as we go through March and especially go through May and April and May as well. So that will be something to watch. you rather watch the snow melt, Rain Mave says. Thank you, Explorer, for joining. Watching snow melt is like watching paint dry. I personally like the look of snow. Yeah, the snow's pretty. I mean, a winter wonderland. Who doesn't like that, right? That is for sure. Rain Mave says, move that snowstorm for next Thursday more south. Well, it does look like it's the models have trended farther south than yesterday, but they did actually back their way farther northwest with the track going through next week. And the reason, well, here's my reasoning why it's doing that. If you guys look out your door or out your window and you see no snow on the ground, it's much easier to warm up the temperatures at the surface and aloft when you don't have a snowpack. When you have a deeper snowpack on the ground, it's much easier to have a cooler air mass near the surface and aloft for the precipitation to fall as snow and stay snow all the way from the cloud base all the way to the surface where we see the precipitation. And we don't have a lot of snowpack across portions of the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, or the Central Plains that much right now. So we're really kind of struggling to see the snowstorm potential being realized farther south until we can see some of that step down process, as a lot of people call it, with the snow moving farther south. We just don't see it right now. So that is something to watch. But the trends will be your friend. Again, like I always say, trends are your friend. And I do think that, with the snowstorm potential in next week, there's a lot of days still to monitor this. We're talking it's 5-6 days out, so things can still change and waver. I'll be tracking that in my video tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. You can count on that. That is for sure. Well, I don't make the weather, unfortunately, Rain Maves. So I just forecast it. So Winter Wonderland isn't called a Wonderland for no reason, right? Yeah, exactly. I definitely agree with you there. But going through the U.S. seasonal drought outlook and what I expect here and what the Climate Prediction Center and stuff like that expects through April 30th, at least, of 2023, we're going to be expanding the drought across portions of the Rio Grande Valley down here into southern Texas. That could extend back into West Texas near the Fort Stockton area here, into west portions of the Panhandle of Texas as well, into New Mexico. And then another area of drought probably developing across central and southern Florida here from Orlando down through portions of Daytona Beach, Miami, Key West, Tampa Bay, and Naples, Fort Myers, just some of the areas down here that probably will see drought development likely going through the spring months, at least through April 30th here of 2023. The models did move it up more northwest right now, but again, it's 5 to 6 days out, Rain Mave, so there's a lot of time to change. So don't hang your hat on any model runs. If you guys are seeing any fantasy storms out there, I'll cover it all in my video tomorrow. Trust me, I will have it covered for you guys. I will not leave you in the dark with the snowstorm potential next week. For sure, I'll be tracking that the next few days. So probably sound like a broken record because that's probably all I'll be tracking, really. There's not much else to do. There's not much else to talk about. Just the snowstorm and severe weather next week. I know the Storm Prediction Center does have a day 6 and I think a day 6 and 7 slight risk across the deep south and the Arclitex going into next week. So a potential severe weather outbreak could be unfolding going into next week, especially the Wednesday, Thursday time frame. So watch that out across the southeast there. It does look like all modes of severe weather will be in play as well. So I'll leave this on the screen for you guys to find your spot on the map here. This is the U.S. seasonal drought outlook going from basically now through April 30th of 2023. That was released on January 31st here, 2023. So pretty recent, a couple weeks ago. So again, across New Mexico, the Rio Grande Valley into central and west Texas, and then getting into central southern portions of Florida. That's where we see much more of the drought starting to come back and develop across those areas. Otherwise, like I was showing you with the eastern 2/3 of the country through April 30th, it's going to be active. So we don't have a need to worry about drought across the Ohio Valley, the Northeast, or portions of the Southeast for that matter as well. With more frequent heavy rain events, more frequent severe weather events, that's the trend right now. I hope it moves east. Are you talking about the drought or are you talking about the snowstorm potential, Stella? You haven't had anything in Massachusetts? Yeah, I know Boston and New York City. You guys have not had much snow this winter. I pray for you guys, you snow lovers out there. Um, it looks like I'll back it up to where I was showing the snow. I do think it's possible the I-95 corridor could get in on this from Boston to New York City, northern New Jersey here down toward the Baltimore region in March, and then even into April as well. But after that, we're just not seeing any snow. There's not much going on. We're getting to the warm months then into May, so we're not expecting much in the way of snow going through that time frame. So those are your opportunities. Again, we got a couple more months to go. I do think this winter could linger on across the Northeast, whatever winter is there, I guess you could say, going through portions of early spring. Oh, the snowstorm moves farther east. It's possible. It depends on how far south that cold air does reach. Sometimes the cold air overperforms of what the models do show, and it moves it farther south. So we'll see if those trends emerge over the weekend here. Again, it's only Friday afternoon, and we're talking about a snowstorm next Wednesday night through Friday morning. So we're talking a whole week away just about still. So things can change over the weekend, and they will change. The track of the system, the intensity of how much snow we could see, how much if we could have a blizzard with it, stuff like that. And of course, the track means a lot of the difference between who could get no snow and who could get over a foot of snow or how much snow we could see. So a lot to track there. But here's my general spring forecast for you guys of 2023 through March, April, and May. I do think we're going to see a lot of back and forth between the precipitation here across the Pacific Northwest through Idaho, getting into the Washington State up here, British Columbia as well, but I think down into Oregon, Northern California, Northern Nevada, and Northwestern Utah, including parts of the Salt Lake City area there with the rain or snow events. It'll go back and forth between the two. I do think the winter will linger on through much of April. Across much of the northern plains, parts of the Intermountain West here, especially the northern Rockies. That extends up here across southeastern Canada into central Ontario and Quebec and the upper Great Lakes regions with more cold, more snow, at least here, marginally cold temperatures through the month of April to support snow up here. Cold and snow late, I do think we'll have another resurgence sometime in March or May, another setback with more snow and cold, at least marginally cold temperatures. That does include the I-95 corridor, so there still are opportunities for snow up here for Boston, New York City, and some of these areas going through March, April, and potentially into early May, but I think that's stretching it out a little bit. I think we'll start to warm up into May. But down here across the East Coast, especially the Carolinas, Virginia, getting down into Georgia here and Florida, a lot more flooding events, a lot more heavy rain events, I do think, when you average out March, April, and May across the portions of the coastal regions there of the Carolinas, getting down there towards Myrtle Beach, Charleston, South Carolina, there the Outer Banks of North Carolina and Virginia. And we're even talking about the Savannah, Georgia area, and much of Florida as well. So either side of Florida with that. going through those months. And looking at the severe weather, the heartland area here across portions of the farm belt, or the corn belt as what we call it, across portions of Nebraska, Iowa, the Illinois Valley extending farther south here in towards the southern plains and eastward here as well towards the Dixie Alley region, parts of the Ohio Valley, the Tennessee Valley here as well. Severe weather is more likely, especially in May. So even though we could have severe weather events in March and April, May looks to be a big month for severe weather across the heartland area of the United States. Underneath that, across southeastern New Mexico into central and southern Texas, including the Rio Grande Valley region, getting here over to southern Louisiana toward New Orleans. Houston, getting down to Corpus Christi, Victoria, Texas, San Antonio, Lubbock, Midland, Fort Stockton, some of these areas in Texas here, Austin. You guys will see warmer and drier conditions as we average out March, April, and May through the spring months. We could have some mountain snow lingering around across the front range of the Rockies. That could extend southbound here into northeastern Arizona, the higher elevations of New Mexico as well, especially early on in March and April. Drier conditions across central, southern California, getting into the Las Vegas region here into southern Nevada, western and southwestern portions of Utah. That could extend down into western portions there of Arizona as well. So hopefully you guys get a better read of breaking this down for you guys of what to expect through the months of March, April, and May for the spring forecast I put together for you guys. It took me a while. It took me a couple weeks to put some of this data together to kind of produce this forecast. So I definitely would appreciate if you guys would keep hitting that like button down below, because this was a lot of work to do this, to bring you this forecast. And again, believe it or not, here actually in, getting closer to March and April, I'll be putting together my summer forecast as well. And I'll be doing that probably, like May 10th, I'll probably be putting out my summer forecast for 2023 and stuff like that. So you guys can check that out. Of course, every first of the month, I will be putting out my monthly weather outlooks. So you guys can look forward to that. Another reason to subscribe, like below, hit the notification bell. You guys get more of that as well. So I love breaking down the weather pattern for you guys, so you guys understand what is happening above our heads and also at the surface where we live, so you can understand better how weather works, how the climate works, and a lot of that stuff. So just educational as well, Catherine says, severe weather, Dallas, Fort Worth. Yes, you're right on that line. You're right on that line. I think severe weather events across the Red River and then farther north and east from there when you average out March, April, and May. So yes, there could be some severe weather in Dallas, Fort Worth. And let me go back to show you. Here's the frequency of the severe weather, I do think, in Dallas-Fort Worth. You're 2 times higher frequency for severe weather through March, April, and May across the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, with the frequency of severe weather events 2 times higher than climatology across these areas. So hopefully that makes sense to you, Catherine. So what I'm talking about with the 2 times higher is that, for example, in April, you already see it's pretty decent severe weather down here in the southern plains. Well, 2 times higher than what you see here. So a lot more frequent events, and then even into May. So that's what I'm expecting. Hopefully that makes sense to you. The last one was 2019, and it happened in July. Tornado outbreak? What are you talking about? So that was during the summer. Oh, tornadoes? You're talking about tornadoes? Oh, yeah. 2019 was busy. I know 2019 was a very cold year in the wintertime, but I don't really remember much of the 2019 summer. I will tell you guys, though, that are on here now, if you guys remember the 2012 summer, how hot and how dry it was, the big drought that covered many states. At one point in 2012 summer, we actually had all 48 states in the lower 48 actually experienced some form of drought, whether it was abnormally dry or minor drought conditions, all the way up to exceptional drought. All 48 states during the months, the summer months there, June, July, and August of 2012, at some point did see a drought. I do expect that potentially to happen again, going into this summer, especially if we can get back to a moderate El Nino, we're going to see a lot drier conditions. We'll just wait and see. It depends on how much rainfall and stuff we see this spring. Will really dictate how hot and dry the summer will be across parts of the United States. It's kind of like a domino effect if you think about it. You know, what you see in the spring could dictate what you see in the summer, especially in the early summer. And then what happens in the summer could dictate what happens in the fall. It's always a revolving door with this stuff, with climate and, you know, longer range forecasting and stuff like that. So it's always a revolving door, that's for sure. But if you guys have any questions for me, comments, concerns, drop them in the live chat here down below. Otherwise, I will be wrapping this up here. I got to go eat dinner here, and I'm not feeling that great today either. So my nose has been running all day. I have a sore throat. A little bit of body aches and stuff like that. So definitely would appreciate if you guys drop the like down below. We're we're over halfway through to 100 likes on the live stream. So again, hit that like button down below, everybody. Let's get up to 100 likes on the live stream, guys. I'm not feeling good. I did this for you guys here today. So the best you guys could do, please just hit the like button down below. Definitely much appreciated. Subscribe to the YouTube channel to get all of my daily weather forecast updates as well on this channel. And of course, I'll have a video probably tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. as well for each and every one of you. So thanks for joining here this afternoon. Yes, thank you guys so much. We're up to 55 likes, guys. Come on now. We need 45 more likes. Who's 45 more? 46 now. We dropped it. We're down to 54. Come on, guys. Yeah, we need more. We need 46 more likes to get up to 100, guys. Let's do it before we end the live stream. Definitely would be much appreciated. Yeah, so if you guys have any more questions, comments, concerns, definitely drop them below, and I will get to those. Again, thank you guys for joining. Definitely much appreciated. I'm going to be ending the live stream here in just a couple of minutes. I'm going to leave the screen up for you guys for a few minutes to show you what my spring forecast 2023 is for March, April, and May. So you guys can pick a spot on the map where you live or where any relatives live or friends, family, anything like that. You guys can see. Otherwise, I'm going to be wrapping this up here in just a couple minutes, guys. Thanks for joining this afternoon. I look forward to doing much more of these live streams and especially severe weather coverage. If we have severe weather next week, I will have you covered here with live coverage later next week here with a potential severe weather outbreak across the Arklatex, the Dixie Alley region, and the Southeast, especially Wednesday and Thursday next week. I'll have an update tomorrow as well at 9 a.m. for a snowstorm potential across parts of the Central Plains on up in towards the upper Midwest across next week. So we'll be tracking all that. A couple of storm systems moving through next week. It looks pretty busy. We'll be doing that as well in tomorrow's video. So I'll leave that up here for just a couple minutes. Any last questions, guys? Going once, going twice, 3 times, 4 times. Thanks, everybody, for joining this Friday afternoon. Hope everybody has a great weekend, though. Enjoy the Super Bowl. I know it's going to be a fun time. Enjoy the Chiefs and Eagles Super Bowl. I hope you guys have a great Super Bowl parties or anything like that. If you have Super Bowl parties with food and games and stuff like that and music or something like that, yeah, just definitely have a blast this weekend. Definitely a fun time. So hope everybody has a great weekend, a great Super Bowl Sunday out there. And I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Thanks for joining, everybody. Again, no last questions I see on here. So thanks for joining this afternoon. Definitely much appreciated. I will see you all tomorrow. Thank you so much. Have a good evening, everybody.